Alright, I wanted to make this video on some updates that I keep hearing how, Russia is basically preparing with China and Iran for a real conflict against the United States and NATO, basically. It's beginning to look like what the Bible describes as Armageddon. A lot of people think that Armageddon is referring to one specific place in the Middle East, a mountain in Israel, around there where this will all take place, but it's actually referring to a specific conflict that will engulf various nations in a region of the earth. And so, yes, it appears that the Middle East will be that region, because if you look at Syria right now, it's like the perfect candidate for, a place called Armageddon, since you're gonna have Eastern powers versus Western powers pretty much. And this could easily take place. Now, what I want to read to you from the Bible are verses where it says that these warring nations in reality are warring against God, against Jehovah. Why? Because they're killing each other. And that's a big no-no in his book. God does not want people to kill each other in war. That is not his will. That's what you gotta understand. When people think that God takes sides with either the US or Russia or whoever, they're very wrong. Or any religion. For that matter, that's why Jesus says, turn the other cheek. And so that's not what is happening and will not happen. It would actually escalate to the point that Jehovah will say enough is enough and will start warring against these nations. And I'm going to read some Bible chapters for you guys, and hopefully this is interesting to you as it is interesting to me. Zechariah 14:3 and 14:9 says, and Jehovah will certainly go forth and war against those nations in the day of his warring, in the day of light. 14:9 says, this itself will prove to be the punishment for the sin of Egypt and the sin of the nations that do not come up to celebrate the festival of the booths. Oh, my bad. 14:9 says, and Jehovah must become king over all the earth. In that day Jehovah will prove to be one, and his name one. See, a lot of people say, oh, there's only one God, and his name is Jehovah. And, some people refer to him as Yahweh or Yahweh. Or we don't know the exact pronunciation of his name. It could be Jehovah, but it's referring to the same God here, the same person. Yahweh, Yahweh, Jehovah, Jehovah. It's all referring, the correct pronunciation was lost, but the Bible promises that the correct pronunciation, well, it also depends on your language too, because in Spanish you're gonna say Jehovah, you're not gonna say Jehovah. So, but it's referring to the same God, the same person. So keep that in mind. Revelation 11:18. Let us see. These are very interesting for the end times. Revelation 11:18. But the nations became wrathful and your own wrath came, and the appointed time for the dead to be judged, and to give the reward to your slaves, the prophets, and to the holy ones, and to those fearing your name, the small and the great, and to bring the ruin, those ruining the earth. Well, those are ruining the earth. A lot of people think about, ecological stuff going on, which they are ruining, but those people will also be taken care of. But, you know, in another context, war ruins the earth too, a lot. So it's basically the same thing there. I mean, look at Aleppo. All right, let's continue. Revelation 16:16 says, and they gathered them together to the place that is called in Hebrew Armageddon. All right, so that's what I was talking about earlier, that they will be all in one spot, basically, in one area, one region. And it could be a big region. It doesn't have to be a little place. So basically, Syria or the Middle East or somewhere. Okay, the last one, Ezekiel 38:18 says, and it must occur in that day, in the day that when God comes in upon the soil of Israel, in the utterance of the sovereign Lord Jehovah, that my rage will come up into my nose, and in my ardor, in the fire of my fury, I shall have to speak surely. In that day a great quaking will occur in the soil of Israel, and because of me, the fish of the sea and the flying creatures of the heavens, and the wild beasts of the field, and all the creeping things that are creeping on the ground, and all mankind that are upon the surface of the ground will be bound to shiver, and the mountains will actually be thrown down, and the steep ways will have to fall, and to the earth even every wall will fall. So it's self-explanatory. Let me continue reading. And I will go forth against him throughout all my mountainous region. A sword is the utterance of the sovereign Lord Jehovah against his own brother. The sword of each one will come to be, and I will bring myself into judgment with him, with pestilence and with blood, and a flooding downpour, and hailstone, fire, and sulfur. I shall ruin down upon him, and upon his bands, and upon the many peoples that will be with him. And I shall certainly magnify myself and sanctify myself, and make myself known before the eyes of many nations, and they will have to know that I am Jehovah. So there you have it, people. I'll talk about other issues, but when you're thinking right, if you're thinking about returning to God, that's the correct way to think. So hopefully I'll make some changes, and we'll see what happens. But it's time. It's getting there, and I mean, I always wanted to do the right thing, but it's never easy, and things just happen. But I think this is a wake-up call. All right, people, take care. Bye-bye.